Welcome to REM Reward, the podcast that explores the secrets of sleep and psychology. I'm your host, Ryan, and in each episode, we'll dive deep into the world of sleep and other topics such as mental well-being and personal growth. If you want to unlock your full potential and receive the rewards that come with understanding the power of sleep, you're in the right place. To discover more tips and insights on improving your sleep and overall well-being, visit our website and explore our other episodes at remreward.org. Today on REM Reward, we're thrilled to welcome Wendy Bjazevich, an award-winning children's science author with a BS in Sociology and Health Education from Brigham Young University and a Master's in Forensic Sciences from George Washington University. Wendy has penned several acclaimed titles like Exoplanets and the Green and Small series, and now brings us Sleep, A Kid's Guide to the Science of Slumber, a beautifully illustrated, fast-packed book that invites young readers into the captivating world of sleep. Here in this episode, we'll be talking about her book and the things that are included in it. And it's a great listen, so I hope you enjoy. Alrighty. So, your book, Sleep, A Kid's Guide to the Secrets of Slumber, is wonderfully written and illustrated for kids. What inspired you to write about sleep specifically for a younger audience?
First off, Ryan, I'm glad you liked the book. I was really pleased with how everything turned out. To be actually honest with you, I'd really never given my sleep a lot of thought, or even sleep in general. That all changed. I didn't give it near the thought that it deserved, but that all changed after I finished writing the book about exoplanets. When I was done with the book, the publisher of that book asked me if I would like to write a book about the science of sleep for kids. And I told them that I really would like to. And I thought the subject sounded fascinating. So that's really where my sleep journey, if you want to call it that, began. Having the chance to learn all about sleep and to be able to write that and share that with kids was actually awesome. It was fascinating, informative, and it turned out to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's really an amazing story, and I completely agree. It's a really fascinating topic.
It is.
And when you were writing, how did you maintain a balance between scientific accuracy and making the content fun and understandable for those young readers?
Well, being accurate, of course, is really important in everything that I write. I often find when I'm writing for kids that it works best if I limit the depth of the information and focus on making sure that they have a sure and solid and accurate foundation. I think about what do the kids need to know in order to be able to understand the topic that we're talking about. Okay, then I take that information and I try to break it down into smaller pieces and kind of streamline it into a fun and engaging presentation. Okay, right. This is the point where I really need to be creative and think outside the box, because it doesn't really matter how accurate the book is if nobody wants to read it. And as the mother of 6 kids, I learned a long time ago, if a book isn't fun, it's just going to sit on a shelf.
For sure. I completely understand that. And I guess jumping off that, for an example, you explain the 4 stages of sleep in your book. I guess, like as an example, can you break them down for our listeners in a kind of kid-friendly way?
Yeah, I'd love to. Okay, actually, this is a fun section of the book. Also, I give presentations at elementary schools on this book. And this is always a really fun part of the discussion about sleep. So we talk about the fact that each one of us spends about a third of our life sleeping. They're always amazed by this fact. And I ask the question, and they often think that all that time sleeping is all pretty much the same. Well, I ask them, is all the time you spend awake the same? And of course, the answer is no, it's not. Well, all that time you spend sleeping isn't all exactly the same either. So I hope you don't mind. I brought a picture. I write children's books. It's kind of part of the fact. So
don't mind at all.
I brought a picture here. Hopefully you'll be able to send for the people that aren't able to see it and are only listening. Picture just a pie chart with different pieces of pie, different sizes. Okay. So this is a picture of a standard sleep cycle. Okay. During an average night of sleep, each of us will progress through about 3 to 6 of these complete cycles. Now, each of the sleep cycles is broken up into 4 stages. Stage 1 which lasts roughly 1 to 5 minutes. Stage 2, that lasts about 10 to 60 minutes. Stage 3, which is about 20 to 40 minutes. And then stage 4, which lasts again 10 to 40 minutes. 10 to 60 minutes on these. Those stages are based on the brain's activity during sleep. And each of those stages is important to the whole cycle. Stage 1, 2, and 3, non-REM cycles, and stage 4 is considered REM sleep. The kids always wonder, okay, this REM, what is this REM? Okay, we've got non-REM, we've got REM. So I let them get REM, stands for rapid eye movement. And rapid eye movement gets its name for how the eyes dart quickly back and forth underneath your eyelids when you sleep. Okay, so your sleep begins each night in stage 1 sleep, then it progresses to stage 2, stage 3, and stage 4. Then a new cycle begins, and this just keeps going over and over until you wake up in the morning.
Wow, that was an amazing
That's it in a
explanation.
kid-friendly way. I know there's a lot to that, isn't there?
Yeah, I remember when I was learning the sleep cycles, it was definitely not that simple. But that was really a great way to explain it. And I bet
Thank
you,
you.
yeah, of course. And I bet you while you're explaining this, a lot of the kids are thinking, why is sleep so important for me, in particular? Like, how does it impact my mood, learning, physical growth, or behavior? So I guess that is my question. So why is sleep so important for kids in particular?
This is a really important question. Okay, sleep impacts everyone's physical, mental, and emotional well-being. Okay, it just impacts you. Okay, and while scientists and researchers don't know exactly how sleep does so much important work, they discovered a lot of potential to getting a good night's sleep. Okay, so we talk about in the presentations in the book some of the great things that sleep can do for you. So now this isn't a comprehensive, but it's just, these are some really important things. So let's talk about that for just a minute if we can, Ryan. Okay, sleep can help you in staying healthier and in fighting against disease. Sleep can help in the removal of brain cell waste. Okay, this is where I usually get a lot of looks from the kids. Okay, brain cell waste, my brain has
Right.
waste. So we talk about the fact that brain cells do chemical reactions, changing one chemical into another chemical the brain needs. When the reaction is done, sometimes there's some leftover chemical, if you would. This is considered waste. So sleep is a good time for the body to, in effect, take out the trash, remove that waste. Okay, so sleep also, and this is especially important for kids, can help increase your capacity to concentrate, to learn, and to remember. And who doesn't need that? Okay, sleep can also help your improve your mood, improve your judgment, improve your motivation, and even help you be happier. Again, all good things, all really important things. Okay, scientists, the list just keeps going on. The scientists also talk about the fact that sleep can help reduce certain health risks. Two that they mention a lot are help reduce the risk of obesity and diabetes.
Wow.
Sleep can help promote body and cell growth, body and cell repair, and it can help you to actually have a better metabolism. Okay, when I'm talking with kids at the schools and in the book, growth is something the kids are always talking. Okay, they want to get to be healthier, they want to grow taller. So we talk about the fact that while they have growth hormone working in their body all day long, it's during stage 3 sleep that the most intense period of growth hormone release occurs. So according to experts, when kids don't consistently get a good night's sleep, they can actually have their growth slowed or stunted. They always pay attention to this. As you can see, sleep does, so many important things.
Yeah, sleep's benefits seem endless.
They
And
do,
they're
they
still
seem
being
endless.
researched today. Yeah. And I think you touched on this about, some things are still being researched today. So what are some of the biggest mysteries about sleeps that scientists are still trying to figure out today?
Okay, that's really a fun question too. Sleep has a lot of mystery still, but when I was doing the research, one of the areas that I found had a lot of questions. Sometimes it actually seemed like more questions than answers, had to do with the area of dreams.
Hmm.
Okay. And two of the biggest questions that scientists had were, why do people dream? And why do people forget their dreams? Dreams are always fascinating to the kids too, when we're talking about to them. So we go over the fact that while researchers don't know exactly why people dream, they're developing a lot of interesting theories because researchers' understanding of dreaming has really progressed and changed over the years. So some of the theories about dreaming point to the fact that dreams might be important for processing emotions, for learning, for forming memories. That's just to name some. A really fun and fascinating dream phenomenon that I learned about, and the kids are always interested in, is the fact that some people dream in black and white
Hmm.
instead of color.
Wow.
And scientists aren't sure why. Okay, so that's why we dream. Then we always wonder about, why do I forget my dreams? Or why don't I remember I even had them? Again, scientists don't know exactly why the answers for those, but they're developing theories. Okay, one of those theories, which I think is kind of interesting, says the brain simply doesn't think those dreams are important, so it
Hmm.
forgets them. Another theory suggests that part of your brain, called the hippocampus, isn't fully awake when you get up, so you're unable to retain a memory of that dream. So kids are always asking to, well, how can I remember my dreams? Can I do it better? So we talk about something called a dream journal. And that's something that scientists I've learned to actually can use also when they're studying dreams. And that can be something as simple as a piece of paper and a pen by your bedside table. And when you get up in the morning, I tell them to just write down anything at all that they can remember about their dreams. Because if they don't, if they remember any of those things then, that those memories kind of, in effect, kind of float away during the day and then they'll forget them.
Right. Yeah.
So those are some of the big mysteries about sleep.
Yeah. I think dreams are so interesting. Of course, as you mentioned, because there's so many different theories and it's so random at times when we dream and you're like, why did I even dream that? It's um,
Oh, it is. Questions about that, Ryan, are fascinating. I get so many questions, many of which, of course, I can't answer, and the researchers can't yet either.
I know it's really amazing, and I guess we'll see in the future to see if they can figure it out, or if we can find a consolidated answer for that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
how long it takes them.
right. And I guess you brought up dream, but if you can you describe what happens to the body during sleep that like kind of like a surprising or a little known fact that kids might think is really cool or unexpected?
There are actually a lot of kind of unexpected things that occur to your body or happen to your body while you sleep. And if it's okay, I'll share a couple of those with you because I think
Of
they're
course.
really fun. Okay, the first one happens in stage one sleep. During stage one sleep, your person might experience a sudden muscle contraction or a jerk, a feeling of falling. This motion actually has a name. It's called a hypnic jerk. Let the kids know it's not dangerous, and about 50% of people experience it. And when I ask, the hands shoot up. Oh, yeah, I've had that happen. That's weird. So that's something that people have some familiarity with, and they're kind of glad that it has a name. Okay, and the second kind of fun fact I'd like to share is something that happens during stage four sleep. During stage four sleep, a person's muscles might experience temporary paralysis. When this happens, a person's body might become temporarily immobile or unable to move, except for muscles like the eye muscles and the breathing muscles. And researchers think that this happens to keep your arms and legs from flailing around when you dream, which I let them know to help keep them a little safer. So they always find that really interesting.
Yeah, those two facts are super interesting. I've heard about both of them and I've experienced both of those. So really cool to hear about that. A lot of other people are
Yes.
experiencing them. Yeah. Also, you touch on sleep disorders like sleep apnea and narcolepsy. Could you tell us a little bit about sleep disorders with regards to kids?
Oh, you betcha. On this one, sleep disorders, as you know, can be a really complex subject. And actually, to children, sometimes it's a little bit scary. I
Mhm.
don't go into a lot of depth in the book We talk generally what a sleep disorder is. And like you said, I mentioned a couple of examples of sleep disorders. So we talk about the fact that sleep disorders can interfere with the timing of sleep, with the quality of sleep, with the quantity, how much sleep they get, and that sleep can really negatively impact how you function, your ability to go through your daily life. Okay, we talk about the fact that scientists have actually discovered more than 100 sleep disorders. That's a lot of disorders.
Wow.
And that if somebody is experiencing one, they're not alone. That every year, millions of people around the world can experience some kind of a sleep disorder. One sleep disorder, though, that doesn't seem to scare any of the kids, and they almost always ask questions about, is sleepwalking. Okay, and I think that's because sometimes they see it on television
Yeah.
or social media, and they always have questions about sleepwalking. So we talk about the fact that children experience sleepwalking more than adults, and that most kids outgrow sleepwalking by the time they become teenagers.
Hmm.
Also, that sleepwalking generally occurs about an hour or two after they fall asleep. And a person that's sleepwalking actually is asleep, but their eyes are open, though those eyes will appear kind of glassy or glazed, have a glazed appearance. And most of the time when people sleepwalk, they do get up and walk around, but actually they can also just maybe sit up in their bed with their eyes open or even stand in their bed with their eyes open. I know it's kind of interesting, isn't it? Also, when a person sleepwalks, generally they won't remember anything that happened. Now, experts still don't know, so I guess this is a mysterious area too. Don't know exactly why people sleepwalk, have found that it seems to run in families.
Wow. Okay.
I know, which I thought was interesting, and so did they too.
Yeah, I completely agree with the point that I do find that a lot of the younger kids really are intrigued by sleepwalking. It is seen a lot in cartoons and they think it's a really cool thing. Yeah, it's a great point.
Oh, it is, isn't it? They do. They're not a bit scared by that. Some of the other ones, I think they're a little frightened with, but this one, I don't think they're frightened at all. They want to talk about this one.
Completely agree. Yeah. Um, and I think you mentioned how a lot of kids think like sleep is very simple and it's a a one-way thing, but you also discuss how people sleep differently around the world. So I guess what are some interesting facts about beds or where people sleep that you can tell us about?
Okay, now unique beds can be found all around the world, from the hammocks of Central and South America to the Japanese futon. It seems unsurprisingly that people have always wanted to sleep comfortably. In fact, archaeologists have found fossilized animal skins that they believe were used as beds dating back to prehistoric times. Also, interesting fact here is that researchers have found what they think might be one of the oldest known mattresses. They found it in South Africa, and it measures about 12 inches thick and was made of plant material. And it dates back about 67,000 years.
Wow.
I know those estimates right around there. Interesting fact is that the Egyptians are credited with raising the bed above the ground.
Hmm.
Okay, researchers believe that they did this in order to protect people from those cold floors, which makes sense, and also to protect them from crawling and slithering things that would have easier access to us if our beds were on the ground.
Yeah. Wow. That's
I'm
really
glad
amazing
they
to
actually did that.
hear. Yeah. I think that really makes sense, from dating all the way back. Everyone really loves the feeling of jumping into a cozy, bed or some mattress of some sort. I think we can all, we know how great that feeling is after a long day.
Even back in prehistoric times. So we're all very much the same that way.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess in general, in your research for the book, what was one of the most surprising or fun facts about sleep that even adults might not know?
Okay, if it's okay with you, Ryan, I'd like to talk about three of those
Of
because
course.
these three, the kids always like these, and I found them to be fascinating. Okay, the first one, let me ask you a question if I could, Ryan. Have you ever heard anyone talk in their sleep, or maybe had somebody tell you that you were talking in your sleep?
Yeah, I've had both of those. I've heard my brother talk, and my parents have told me they've heard me talking in my sleep.
Okay, that is not an uncommon thing. And amazingly and kind of interestingly too, it's also not uncommon for people that are deaf who use sign language to communicate to be found signing in
Wow.
their sleep. They are in effect talking in their sleep also. And the kids always think that's amazingly cool, to
It
be
is
honest with you.
really.
Okay. Also, a person's sense of smell is really decreased or lessened when they're sleeping. So that odors, even really, really bad odors, generally will not wake them up. And that's one of the reasons that smoke detectors are so important. Oftentimes the smell, just that smell, even if it smells really bad, won't be enough to wake a person up. Okay,
Mm.
and the last kind of fun fact that is surprising, I don't know if I would have necessarily guessed this one, maybe a little bit, but not completely. Kids love this, has to do with animals. Okay, studies have found that sleeping with a stuffed animal has a lot of benefits. Okay, reduced stress, reduced anxiety, reduced loneliness, increased calmness, and the list seems strong. Also, according to the research and experts, there's no right time to stop sleeping with a stuffed animal. And usually at this point, you have kids going, yeah, this is good.
Completely agree. I'm not ashamed to say I slept with a stuffed animal for a long time, and maybe I'll get back to it soon, knowing that it holds so many benefits.
It does. It has a lot of benefits to it.
Yeah. And I guess that really jumps off to my next question. So, what are some simple, bedtime tips or routines you'd recommend to help kids maybe fall asleep more easily and sleep better through the night?
At the end, that is a really good question. And that's one that I touch on at the very end of my presentation and also in our book. Of course, this is an important question. Okay, when I'm giving the presentations, I always ask the kids, how many of you here would like to have an easier time getting to sleep, staying asleep and just sleeping better at night? And almost always about 75% of the class, whatever class I'm talking with, hands are going up. That's a big number.
Hmm.
So if we want to talk about sleeping better, I let them know we need to talk about something called sleep hygiene. And sleep hygiene refers to a set of conditions or habits that can influence your nighttime sleep. Okay, good sleep hygiene can signal the body that it's time to sleep and can help the body actually to sleep better. So if you want to talk about some of the things, some of the ways that you can sleep better, we need to talk about 4 things that you should do and maybe 4 things that you need to avoid. This is kind of a quick list. Okay, so let's talk about some of those things that you should do. One of those, first one on the list for the experts, was to get some exercise during the day. Okay, research has found that a little exercise and a little sunshine actually improves and promotes sleep. Next, and I don't know if people would really think about this one, is have a regularly scheduled bedtime. That
Hmm.
means going to bed and getting up about the same time every night, even on holidays and weekends. Okay, the third list of 4 is have a calming bedtime routine. And there's no set routine. It can be individual to whether that includes like brushing your teeth, washing your face, reading, whatever your calming routine is. This type of routine can help the body and feel more tired and ready for bed. Last one on that list was it's important to be comfortable. Okay, dim the lights. I always get questions about night lights. Night lights, totally okay, but dim those lights so that they're not really bright. Dim the lights, reduce the noise, and make sure the temperature is good. Temperature is sometimes a forgotten thing unless it's really extreme. They talk about maybe a little bit of Goldilocks weather here. Not too hot, not too cold. Try to find something that's just right for you.
Hmm.
So those are the 4 things that you should do. Now, there's also 4 things that you maybe want to avoid because they can negatively impact sleep. Okay, the first of those is to avoid caffeinated beverages like energy drinks and sodas late in the day. Caffeine is a stimulant, and stimulants make it harder for you to sleep. Okay, next one is be mindful of when you're using your electronics. And the research on this is changing a lot, and we're really getting a lot of information about electronics and sleep. Using such as cell phones and laptops right before bed can negatively impact your sleep. It can interfere or disrupt that rush of melatonin that's necessary in order to sleep. Experts actually recommend turning off all screens about an hour or before you go to sleep. This also gives your mind a chance to unwind and signal your body that it's time for bed. Okay, the third thing on the list of things to maybe avoid is long naps late in the afternoon. Now, this one makes sense, but sometimes when you're tired during the day, it can be easy to forget. So we want to avoid those. And finally, avoid doing daytime activities in your bed, like playing games or doing homework or watching television. Sleep will be easier if your mind connects your bed with sleep. The kids always go, oh, that makes sense. I never really thought of it like that, but it does. When you think about it, that really does make a lot of sense. So those are some of the things that you can do to help yourself get to sleep easier and to have a better night's sleep.
Wow. Yeah, that was really informative. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, I think a really big thing that a lot of kids miss out on, as you mentioned, is really having a really solidified time to go to sleep. And a lot of people like think on the weekends they can kind of like catch up or it's like a little different. But I think really establishing that, same time, even on weekends, on holidays, you mentioned, is really important. That's just one of the things that I know a lot of even my friends and teenagers still, struggle with and don't really understand.
Oh, I totally and completely agree with you. It's amazing doing the research for this book. Like I said at the beginning, I didn't give my sleep near enough thought. Writing this book and doing the research actually changed the way I not only look at sleep, but the way I sleep, the things I do, the things I share with my kids. Like, no, that's going to mess with your sleep. It's really important, and there's a lot you can do.
Yeah, that's amazing to hear. Um, and I think for my last question, if a child or parent remembers just one thing from your book, or this podcast, or just anything, what do you hope it will be?
Okay. For me, I think the thing I'd like them to remember most is that your sleep will really impact your physical, emotional, and mental well-being. It's going to affect you in ways you might not even think about.
Hmm.
So sleep isn't just important. It's easy to say, oh, that's important. Well, it isn't just important. Sleep is essential, not only for you to exist, to survive, but to thrive, to be the very best you can be that day. That's sleep is that important. And you need to think about it. It's an important part of being who you can be.
Wow, I really love that emphasis on the how it's essential. Um, well, those are all the questions I have for today. I really appreciate you coming on and taking the time to come and speak about your book and all the different information you had. I'm sure all the listeners are just as appreciative as I am to have you on here. I'll make sure to link everything down below, and thank you so much again.
Ryan, thank you for inviting me very much. This was great.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to the REM Reward podcast. Before you go, we'd appreciate your support by subscribing, liking, and leaving your thoughts in the comments. Stay tuned for our next podcast, where we will be joined by a special guest speaker to explore even more about the fascinating world of sleep and psychology.